He is Ryan Peniston, a professional tennis player from Great Britain. It is an honor to have him on the On to Something podcast. I'm Bryan Fenley, a commentator for the USTA on the Challenger circuit, which is where I got to meet Ryan and what he was able to do down in Cary not too long ago, make it all the way to the quarters, I believe. And I really had an appreciation for Ryan's game, considering the way in which he's worked his way up. And it's very inspirational. We're going to talk about what has made him inspirational. And let's start here, Ryan. First of all, thank you so much for doing this. And meeting your dad in Cary, it's clear that your dad is always by your side. How hard, and being a coach of yours since you picked up a tennis racket, how hard is he on you and pushing you and trying to get you to play your best?
Well, first, thanks for having me, Brian, on the podcast. But yeah, I mean, my dad has been my coach since I was 3 years old. He brought me into the game, and yeah, I mean, we've had tough times for sure. It's come close, but I think that's always going to happen with family members. I think because we're so, we're so emotionally invested in it, and it's been a ride. It's been a journey, but yeah, he's been tough on me for sure.
Having him travel at these tournaments with you and being side by side with you, how does that, while he is tough, how has that also empowered you as a tennis player as well?
Yeah, you see kind of a lot of the same things when you're on tour. You see a lot of players with their coaches, and as you go up the levels, you see people have, more people in their team. But yeah, it's definitely different when you can tell when someone, has their parent as their coach. It's the dynamic is just a little different. And I feel like me and my dad had a great dynamic, and we get on super well. So yeah, it definitely gives me, some strength in moments when I need them, I think.
Knowing how much your father loved you, how was that so apparent, so clear by his actions when you were really young, 1, 2 years old, coming into the world?
Yeah, so not a lot of people know, but when I was a 1 year old, I had rhabdomyosarcoma, which is a cancerous tumor. Um, and yeah, I think, what my dad went through, what my parents went through, I'll never really understand how difficult that was for them. But I don't remember much about it. But, going from that whole situation, overcoming that, and then him introducing, tennis to me, and, we kind of both fell in love with it, and we had something to bond over. So yeah, I think I see the kind of love that he's put into my career and me as a person all the time.
How is tennis an escape for you?
Um, it's definitely an escape at times. When I'm kind of on the court, I kind of think sometimes I'm just I feel kind of free. I'm just playing, and it just feels so natural and so right. Sometimes it's hard to explain it, hard to put your finger on it, but it feels free, especially when you do some things that you love doing. You just can't quite explain the feeling, but it's something that I just want to keep doing.
When on the court, did you feel like it was, and perhaps it was a specific match, whether it was in college or professionally, where it was the best depiction of you, your organic self, the best display of your talents and what you're trying to accomplish on the tennis court? You were able to show that.
Oof, that's a tough question. I've played a lot of matches.
You have. You played in a
Yeah,
lot of big matches too.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's definitely been some match. I'd have to say definitely one from college. I'd have to say I had a match in my junior year in college where I managed to clinch at home at the University of Memphis. We were playing, I think it was Cornell, and it was a really tough. It came down to the wire, 3-3, and it came down to my match. And I think I was a set up, and I had set point, maybe even match point to win it in the second set. Ended up losing that set, and it all came down to the third set. And I was like thinking, I was like, everyone, is getting behind me, and it's come down to this. But yeah, I just managed to find a way to fight through. And then, I won, and the whole team piled on. I ended up like cramping at the end, but it was just, it was just an amazing. Yeah, I had like full lower body cramps. I had to get an IV after the match. Yeah. But yeah, it was just an amazing feeling, just, giving everything you have, and then, the joy that you experience with your teammates. It was just, you can't put it into words, really.
When you're playing in those pressuresome moments in matches, or say you're in a match and you're trailing and you're able to work your way back, perhaps there's a big break point and you're able to work yourself out of that. Mentally, what is it like living in your headspace when you understand that there's a lot at stake on a particular point? But just watching the way your body language is out there, Ryan, it seems like you're very cool and very much collected and centered. Is that something that is natural to you to get to that mentality, or is this something that you've worked on over the course of your playing career?
That's a good question. I think it's both, to be honest. I kind of pride myself on my kind of mental attitude when I'm playing. Like I try to stay positive, and I think just in general, I'm a pretty calm person. It takes a lot for me to get annoyed or angry. I think my friends will definitely say that as well. But yeah, I've kind of, it's helped me in tennis. So and people have said that how positive it is. So I just kind of keep on doing it, and I find it definitely works. It gives me kind of clarity sometimes when maybe other players might be losing their heads. Yeah.
Ryan Peniston, professional tennis player from Great Britain. I'm Bryan Fenley, a commentator for the USTA and the ATP Challenger Tour. So speaking of clarity, we watch you play matches, but knowing the life that you live, there's a lot more that goes into you on a daily basis than the 2 hours or whatever of you playing a match. So give us some clarity as to what it is life on the road for you outside of a match, the travel, the hotel stay, the practice. What does a daily schedule look like for you and your typical routine?
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because when spectators see tennis matches, they kind of just say exactly like you said, that the 2 hours of the match, the performance. But there's for sure so much that goes into it. As a tennis player, it's my life, so it kind of never stops, really. I kind of always thinking about it, even when I'm not really thinking about it. It's in the back of my mind somewhere. So we as tennis players, we travel. We're on the road maybe 25 to 30 weeks of the year. And then the weeks that we're not on the road, we're doing training weeks. So it's nonstop, really. From the moment we wake up, really, with the stuff we eat, everything, the things we do, stretching and scheduling tournaments. There's really a lot that goes into it, to those 2 to 3 hours that people see.
How much time, Ryan, do you spend watching or rewatching a match of yours? And then when does it come to a time where you say, okay, I can't look back at that anymore. We've got a lot moving forward. Now we got to focus on the future.
Well, there's definitely things that, as a tennis player, you need to work on your game. Every player has, their strengths and their weaknesses. So if something, sticks out a lot, then you can kind of go through certain matches where it was shown, or other matches like where you can just see over a period of time, it kind of highlights what you're doing. But yeah, I mean, I tend to watch pretty much nearly every match that I play. If I find something that I want to look at, then I'll look at it in detail. otherwise I'll just kind of skim over. But yeah, it's you look at them a lot throughout your career for sure.
Sure. Ryan Peniston is with us. I'm Bryan Fenley. Considering how you are playing right now, one of the highest rankings ever in your professional career, what do you think is working best for you currently?
I think I'd say that the number one thing that's kind of helped me out the most recently is the kind of discipline I've been holding myself to. And it's not just been on the court, it's been off the court as well. You know, everything when it comes to my diet, my sleep, everything really that to do with tennis, I've kind of just become that little bit more disciplined, and I think it's kind of showing in my game on the court.
If you continue on this trend of the discipline that you're talking about, how good and how high of a ranking or what would be a goal that you're focused on in terms of reaching?
Top 100 is definitely a goal I'm focused on. I like to make smaller goals so I can kind of reach them and then set more smaller goals. So right now I'm trying to make my first Grand Slam qualifying, which would be around the 250 mark, and then it would be top 200, and then start to and play constant ATP qualifying, and then top 100 is the long term.
Final question for you, Ryan. How close are you? Because it seems like you're so close. So what does it take internally from you just to say, hey, all of those goals that you lined up on and you just discussed are right there. So what little extra do you need out of yourself to sort of cross that bridge and get there in what you were talking about?
I think it's definitely close. It's something a lot of tennis players come to terms with. It's kind of just right there. You can almost reach it. But yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy because everyone's trying to do the same thing, and you've got to beat all of them to get to where you want to be. So yeah, it's hard, but I think that just it sounds cliche, but something like trusting the process and just keep on keep putting your head down and getting to work. I think that's, for me, I think that's what's gonna help me the most.
Well, you've got the stamina, you've got the endurance, you've got the discipline, you've got the mindset, and you certainly have the talent. I'm excited to see what's next for you, Ryan, and I look forward to staying in touch with you. Ryan Peniston, I'm Bryan Fenley. Ryan, thank you so much for taking a couple minutes out of your day and talking about your career, what's next for you, and some of the bigger inspirational aspects of your life.
Of course. Thank you, Bryan. Thanks for having me.